Welcome back to Ascend Legal 101. I'm Ramona, and as we continue to explore different aspects of mentorship throughout March, I thought I would share this edited recording of when I spoke on March 12th, 2022 at a Women in Aviation Worldwide event hosted at Glacier Air in Squamish, British Columbia. Here we go. Thank you, Colette. My name is Ramona, and part of the challenge of preparing to speak with all of you this morning is telling you the truth without freaking you out. So my intention today is actually not to tell you as much about the exciting world of managing a flight training unit and aircraft maintenance organization, or about flying, but to talk to you about having full ownership of your own experience. I know all the other speakers here today are going to be really cool and fun, and they're going to tell you about all of the really exciting opportunities that you have in flying and their own experiences. I'd like to touch on some of the other opportunities you have. I really appreciate being here today, and I'd really like to thank Colette and Glacier Air and Madeline for organizing all of this. And also thank you to the BC Coast 99s, because they are true examples of a supportive community who are really committed to their community, and they're committed to you. I've been watching them since 2009, and they're always showing up for you. They're very consistent. I'm just so pleased to be asked to speak in this community, and I really appreciate being included. So thank you for that. So how many people here are brand new pilots? Or maybe you're here for a test run. Who's here for a test run? And how many of you here are brand new, maybe still taking your lessons? And who here is a pilot? The reason I ask is because I just want to take us into our bodies and into our own imaginations for a minute. I'd like you to remember your first time in an airplane. I'd just like everybody to sit in your own imaginations and your own memories of what that was like. What was it like the first time you took off in a helicopter, as the case may be? Let's remember the feeling you had when you took off for the very first time, or that feeling from your first solo. For me, I was like a crazy woman when I landed. I was so happy and excited. It was just nuts. It was like freedom, right? You know that feeling of total exhilaration? For some people, I know it's sheer terror, but you know, my point is you get the juice and then you just never want to let that go. Sit in that and remember that. That feeling and that memory that you have right now, what I'd like to remind you is that belongs to you. That feeling you're remembering in your stomach or in your solar plexus or in your whole heart, wherever you're feeling it, when you really think about your own experience, or even how you feel when you're watching Just Fly on TV, it's like, oh my God, that feeling you get, that's yours. That belongs to you. Remember, that's in your body. And the reason I want to remind you of that is because part of being a woman in aviation is that there's going to be a lot of people tell you what your experience is. They're going to tell you how it's going to go for you and what you're experiencing. They're going to tell you how you feel about things. So it's really important for all of us to remember what it is in our own mind and our own bodies and how that feels. Because when you know what that is for your own self, that is actually feeling and being fully empowered, right? You know how we always talk about being empowered? This is it. No one has to tell you. No one can tell you how it feels because you already know. You know that feeling. That belongs to you. That's yours. Okay? That's point number one I'd like to make today. You already know what feeling and being fully empowered is for you. I can tell you, as the first female president of an organization that started in the 1920s and was formally incorporated in 1946. So the organization generally was just about 100 years old, and they had never had a woman president or accountable executive, not even in management. So let's just say it was new for all of us. There had been women on the board previous to me, but when I got on the board, some of those women actually told me to quit. They told me I was going to fail for sure. They told me I wouldn't stay because it was just too tough, because the men, they just weren't happy people. But you know, it was the men who invited me on the board. And I had my very, very greatest champions in that place among the men in that community. And you know, some of them were my greatest opponents too. And some of them were worthy opponents and some of them not so much. It was challenging for sure. But one thing I did find, because I started flying when I was 38, so just to back up a little bit, I didn't intend to do this, but my dad had always flown, so I grew up in the back of an airplane. I was married to a guy who had been in the snowbirds. And so when I got divorced, I decided it was my turn. So here's me, single mom, 2 kids, my own business. Seems like an appropriate time to take flying lessons. And some days it was like, do I fly or do I buy milk? And I ate a lot of rice. And there were all these people continually telling me what my experience was, kind of patting me on the head a little bit, you know? And when I became president and was accountable executive, I even actually had a group of 3 men have a meeting, and then they thought they'd email me and tell me what they thought it was to be empowered as a woman and what our female members would be empowered by. The irony was not lost on me at all. And what I love about being me is that I'm also in law. I've been in law for 32 years, so I papered that file. You know what I mean? I kept all the receipts. I have a billion emails. I have 100 emails from men telling me what my experience was and how I felt about it, and what was going to benefit our female members and what would empower the women in our community. But I wasn't willing to trade the integrity of the women in our community for an opportunity, in big air quotes, that required them to trade their integrity. That was not okay with me, and I told them so. They're not speaking to me. So this brings me to my next point. I would like to talk to you about how valuable you are in this community. And you know, I'm not just talking about your value, your intrinsic value as a human being, because of course you're valuable. We're not talking about that. What I would like to talk to you about is my experience is in management and on boards and in law. And also, I should tell you, I own a recruiting firm. And what I see consistently, literally 100% of the time, in my own experience, is that women always ask for less. They always ask for less money. Whether in aviation or law or whoever I'm recruiting for, I always see it. And I've seen it to the tune of $40,000 a year less than what the man who was up for the same job asked for. So when they ask about starting salary and what your salary expectations are, women always ask for less. I've seen $10,000 a year less than what the actual starting salary for the job was. Quit doing that. I'm not talking about comparing you to your male counterparts. I'm talking about you asking for less. If you're going into a job in aviation, make sure you talk to all the people around you, both the women and the men. Because if you're starting a job that they've already done, especially, you want to find out how much money they made. Do your homework, just like you would with any job you're going to apply for. And just so you know that, we're not going to go deep here and talk about worthiness and all that other kind of stuff everybody goes to therapy for. Just know, walking in the door, if you're qualified to do the job, you are equally as valuable as everybody else who walks in that door. So ask for what you're worth. Because I literally, I hate it when I say literally a lot, but in my experience, 100% of the time, women have asked for less. Okay, so don't do it. I think that a lot of people think that they're getting a shot, because in aviation, sometimes, you know, we see a lot of men around us and they're doing really well. And, you know, it's sort of their world. And to be honest with you, I was introduced to aviation through the men in my world too. And I'm so thankful for that. I love that. But what I see now, and I'm sure you're seeing the tide turn in your own jobs, is that there's such a labor shortage. You know, the pandemic was one thing, it kind of screwed everything up, but we had a pilot shortage before that. We had a shortage of qualified AMEs before that. And now I'm starting to see, and somebody, Dan, was just talking out in the office about pilots getting scooped from other airlines again. So we're seeing that sort of suck up again, where everybody's being hoovered into new different positions. There's a lot of opportunity for you. I think we always think we're getting a break, but the thing is, there's a lot of opportunity. And quite frankly, if you feel that you don't fill that job, the truth is nobody is going to, because there aren't a lot of people available who are qualified to do that job right now. Again, I sort of defer to my own business, my recruiting firm. We're in a labor shortage. You have options, which is not something most people say to women. I have a lot of options, said no woman ever, right? Well, you have a lot of options, a lot of them. Whether you want to be a pilot, or maybe you decided that feeling you experienced in that exercise we did a minute ago was really sheer terror, and you do not want to fly, but maybe you're interested in something else. Well, guess what? If you want to be an air traffic controller and you're really good at Tetris, then NAV Canada is hiring. And if you want to be a regulator or have an interest in law or operations management, there's a lot of opportunity for you at Transport Canada or in an airport authority or in management of an airline. If you are technically inclined, you have a lot of opportunity as an aircraft maintenance engineer, and this industry is screaming for them. It's really difficult to hire somebody who is a well-qualified aircraft maintenance engineer or technician. So look for that apprenticeship program. Or what about the military? Some of you are quite young here. If you're in grade 9, then you're right on time, because grade 10 is when your grades start to count. A lot of women think they have to start in an administrative position. You know, we see that all the time. And I can tell you that is very helpful, because you get a great background in how an aviation business runs. But just remember, you have options. So much opportunity, you don't even know it. I've been on this earth for a little while longer than some of you, so I have a different perspective. And what I know for sure is that it doesn't matter where you're at right now. You're actually just at the beginning. You know, Jess, I've watched her grow for 10 years and she's on a fancy TV show. And I know she's just at the beginning. I mean, this is a really exciting time for her. And Colette has owned this place for 20 years. And quite frankly, this is the beginning for her. Look at all the people in this room. I do wish we were flying right now, but I'm so glad you're all here in this room with us today, because these women came here to show you what real mentorship is. Angela and Katie and Jessica and all of the BC Coast 99s are real examples for you. They're showing you what teamwork looks like and what real leadership looks like. And I kind of came for the cake, but also I came because I know things now. From the management side of things, from the regulatory side of things, from the pilot side of things, from the student side of things, I know things now. And I'm just here to remind you that while all of these dynamic, magnificent women are wandering around leading by example, I'm just going to leave you with this. The first is that you are powerful. And now that we've sat in your own experience, even just for 20 seconds, you know what that feeling is to be fully empowered in your own experience. When you're not having a good day, you can get in your mind and remember that flight. You can get in your mind and remember what that feeling of freedom feels like, and that it belongs to you. Remember that just in case other people want to tell you what your experience is, you have something to say. No, I know what that feels like for me. Thank you very much. The second thing I'm going to leave you with is that you are valuable. I'm not going to get all frou-frou la-la over here. You are a valuable person in this community, not just in this community as a community member, but also because I know people are dying to pay you what you're worth to work with them. So please do that. The third is that you have options. And there are a lot of them. Lots of opportunity is knocking down your door. Like, I know right now we're in the end of this pandemic, I hope, and it's gloomy in the rain and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of hard to see the opportunity, but it really is there. In my own business, I'm like trying to keep up with all of the opportunity that I have chasing me to give to other people just like you. I'm desperate to see people like you in my own business. There's so much opportunity for you. You know how a lot of people say the sky's the limit? I'm here to tell you today, what I know for sure is that it's just the beginning. The sky is not the limit, it's the beginning. This is gonna like crack the world wide open for you. I promise you, your whole life will change. And you think you're just learning how to fly. When I was a self-employed single mom with little kids and everyone was telling me what a bad mother I was because I was choosing my own goals and I was learning how to fly, I'm glad I was persistent because my whole entire life changed. My whole world opened up. I get to be here with you now. And just like that, you're right on time, right? You're here right now and you're hearing this and you're going to hear from other speakers, Jess and Katie, and you get to hang out with Angela and Colette and the 99s, and you're right on time. So thank you very much for showing up.